Well, hello there, Mr. Martin. How are you, sir?
Mr. Martin, good to see you again, sir. Back on the job again today and raring to go here on a Meldon Law Monday.
Yeah, happy Meldon Law Monday to you. I feel like it should be like a greeting. Hey, make sure if you're watching this show for the first time, you don't know what we're doing here, smash the subscribe button. If you're watching on your phone, you'll just have to clear the chat room out. We'll pull it down and you'll see a subscribe button. And if you're watching on your computer, there's a floating, I don't know, icon, red thing on there, and you hover over it. It says subscribe. Then you're in. That's it. It's free. That's all you got to do, buddy. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Good.
Got Shane Matthews in the orange and blue room, so we're not going to let him wait much longer, buddy. If you don't, have anything to say, then
let's move on to Shane. He's got stuff to say.
All right. Well, then I guess we should just I should just find what I'm doing, and we'll light this candle. There we go.
All right.
Time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Well, good evening, Meldon Law Monday. I'm Buddy Martin. He's Brendan Martin, and there's the Shaner. He's out of the dark and walking to the light now, and I can almost see that shirt, but I'm not sure. What does it say on the front?
It says Under Armour, buddy.
Okay, I know that group. Yes. Shane, good to see you again, man.
I know those guys.
Yeah.
Watch out. I know you. I'm coming.
Yeah.
Buddy Martin. Don't mess around. Hey, Shane. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well, guys. How are y'all?
We're doing good. You're doing good. So can I just, before we talk anything like super crazy, like I'm trying not to pretend, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy, but it sure felt really weird at the end of the game, yesterday when I watched 3 drop passes, a muffed special teams. I mean, I'm of course I'm joking, but what happened? What happened to the Lions at the end there? I mean, how do you fall apart that bad? Because to me, that was just fundamentals.
Well, look, I didn't care who won. I picked the Lions and the Bengals back in August in the Super Bowl. It's unfortunate. The Lions dominated the first half.
Yeah.
And, if they kick the field goal midway, it's almost about 6 or 7 minutes left, I guess, in the third quarter. They go up by 17. And they have a drop pass, and then the Niners hit the big pass play. They score, then they fumble, and then they had another opportunity to kick the field goal to tie it up. So, but Dan Campbell's done that the whole year. But boy, if he kicks that field goal, they go up 17. I don't think there's any way they lose the game. I really don't.
So you think we blew it?
Well, they did. I mean, they dominated the game, and then you got to give Brock Purdy a lot of credit, man. He's a heck of a player, and he made a lot of plays to help that team win the game.
I really found myself rooting for the Lions, although I really do like the Chiefs. But the Lions is such a great story, and I thought they get ahead right. The 49ers are a very difficult team to play. A team, if you get down 17-2, you ain't coming back, except Brock Purdy did come back, and I give him all props. That was one of the best pro football days. I don't watch 6 or 7 hours of NFL, but I watched it yesterday, and I always do this time of year. And I will raise this larger question to you, Shane. We'll come back to the game and the decisions that he made and whether he cost the team the game, and he did clearly. In a way, the game has changed. Shane, think about this. The Michigan Wolverines won the national championship with smash mouth football, right? The kind the NFL used to play. And yesterday I saw teams playing so fast, especially, and even the 49ers at the end, especially the Chiefs. They're playing so fast, Shane. It reminds me of how college ball used to be. And now it looks like NFL is becoming more like, they sort of swap places. The NFL is playing college ball and college teams are playing NFL ball. Does that strike you as being odd?
I mean, look, I actually used to be a college guy over NFL, but I think I've switched now.
No, I think you have too. I think that's what's happened.
Yesterday, you saw three of the best play callers in all of football with Kyle Shanahan, Ben Johnson at Detroit, and Andy Reid. Look, what the Chiefs are doing, and I said this a couple of summers ago, and I got blasted by it, but I don't give a damn. I firmly believe Patrick Mahomes will go to more Super Bowls than Tom Brady did. He's been a starter for 6 years. He's going to his fourth Super Bowl in those 6 years. And think about the 2 times he did not go. He lost in the AFC Championship game to Joe Burrow and to Tom Brady. I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen play in that league. He's extremely talented, but he's a winner, man. And I think Andy Reid's one of the top 3 coaches to ever coach in the National Football League. And I don't think they're going anywhere. And I think they're going to beat the 49ers.
What a play he made on that way, zip, 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 and then got the ball off. And I guess it's Kelsey. He made it through to Kelsey. How he even got that ball off, I don't know. How he got it down near a receiver, I don't know. And Kelsey made another great game. What a game Kelsey had. Man, oh, man, oh, man. Incredible. By the way, I'm a fan of his girlfriend, by the way. I love the picture of them after the game, and just I think the fans love it. Love a good love story. But anyway, you're right. In fact, I was thinking of you when I said college football has become more like pro football and vice versa, because you have to raise the question, and this is heresy coming from guys like us, Shane. We're advocates for college football. NFL could become a better game.
Well, I think it is right now. I mean, it's there's so many good teams with great players at the quarterback position in the National Football League right now, and I think that's what drives that league. And you got the highest paid quarterback. I think he may not be, but he should be. He's right up there, making $50-something million a year, and you got a kid making about $900,000. Think about that, playing against each other.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was certainly high level football. Plays made at such warp speed, I couldn't believe it. And you're right. I don't know if anybody could ever do what Mahomes does. And Kelsey is such a great compliment. Anyway, it was really good football. I felt sorry for your Lions, although you don't claim them. But it was a good day. So, Shane, there was a little news in college football and among the Gators. They finally did something. Did you read about the special teams guy they got?
Yeah, I saw they got an analyst. He coached a little bit of college ball, been with the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Joe Houston.
Just so people know, he's not going to be a guy in a regular coaching outfit.
Yeah, analyst.
He's an analyst.
Yeah. And do you think that answers the critics' need for a coordinator? I don't think it does, but we'll see.
I mean, it'll help. I mean, I've said that I felt like a lot of the game management stuff, it's not on the head coach because he's calling plays. The other people need to do their job, and I don't think they have, and maybe this will help.
Yeah. My man David Arnoff, who lives up here, he's a Swiftie also now. Taylor Swift. I think it's great. So, yeah. Shane, did you not? I probably didn't know Martin Fennelly. I don't think, did you?
I do not know who that is. I did see on Twitter he passed away.
Yeah.
But I had no run-ins with him that I'm aware of. So I don't really know him.
Well, you wouldn't have had run-ins with Martin.
I didn't mean run-ins like that, but I'm saying
you never had an occasion to be involved.
Yeah, I never spoke with him because I know a lot of media guys, even back from one of my playing days, but I don't know him at all.
It was kind of after your playing days. Anyway, Martin was an exceptional writer and an exceptional person, and well loved by many, and a good man. And tonight, a little later on, we're going to have Scott Carter on, who was real close to him. And we're going to talk about Martin and some of the things he did. He's got a guy that leaves a mark when he leaves because he cared about things that not everybody else did. Kind of person went out of his way to do stories on people that didn't normally get noticed. And a beautiful writer and a terrific person. 65 years old, dropped dead of a heart attack on Friday. Many people, including Pat Forty, wrote about him. It's what a shock it was. So we're playing tribute a little to him today as well. So, all right, so we're setting up now for February. Shane, you used to be a big college fan. You like Gator basketball. I'm sure you watched some of the Georgia game. Your thoughts?
Unfortunately, buddy, I didn't see one play. I was listening to it in my golf cart, playing golf with my golf group. So I was blown away that we blew a 21-point lead. But look, we won the game. That's all that matters. This team's 4-3 now in conference play. Now, we really got to find a way to win one of these two this week on the road. I don't know if we can. Kentucky's an animal, man, especially at home. And then A&M just got upset at home. They're a very talented team, and that's going to be a tough one as well.
Who's in your golf group? I bet you're not the one Nick Saban had. Did you see that? Nick Saban played in a group with 50 Cent, Adrian Peterson, Marcus Allen, Jack Nicklaus, a whole bunch of guys down there in his new hometown. He's loving it.
Well, I play in a golf group that has about 25 guys, and we play Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, and it's very competitive golf. I'll just leave it at that.
Do you have a guy like 50 Cent in that group?
I don't think we don't have anybody that's a bad player. I don't think there's no way 50 Cent's a very good player.
He's a superstar performer.
Right. We 50 Cent would lose a lot of money in our game.
Got a bunch of sharks out there that you got. Let me get back just for a second about the Crow football, what we're saying. Have you seen the numbers on these games? Amazing. The 49ers comeback victory against the Lions. 56.6 million viewers, Shane. 50, the most on Fox ever for that round since 2012. The fourth most non-Super Bowl telecast network in history. So up 19% from last year's NFC Championship game, Eagles 49ers. So people
I saw where I don't know if I read it correctly, but I know that's Greg Olson's. I don't know if it's his last time he'll broadcast on Fox.
Yeah,
which he is outstanding, and he's being replaced by Brady. But Greg Olson is as good as he's probably the best color guy on TV.
He's good. Well, somebody will snap him up, won't they? You never know. But,
I don't know I just know he's not going to be the number one crew. They may bump him down to the 2 or 3. I don't know the whole situation, but boy, I don't know. He's good.
It's really the Tony Romo effect, and pay him $1 gazillion and for everybody else. So,
well, Brady's getting $325 million to do it.
I know. Buying those rings. That's like you, Shane. That's the reason the radio network.
Yeah, they pay me that, no doubt.
Nobody else can get hired because you can make so much money. So, all right, so let's do this real fast if I can, Brendan. Let's go do our spot at Meldon Law. Second opinion? No?
Nope. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm still downloading that, so you're going to have to vamp and do something else.
Tell folks about Meldon Law while we're waiting.
There you go.
And then we'll play the spot later. That is it. Meldon Law is it wants you to know if you have a lawsuit out there you're not happy with, you're not getting the kind of results, they will give you a second opinion. And you can call them up for free and talk to them, and they'll tell you if I take the case or not. And they're available, and they have actual lawyers from Meldon Law. Like Jeffrey says, we'll have a Meldon get in touch with you. So they don't talk much about being a law firm because they're talking about being in support of the Gators. But they're in Gainesville, Ocala, Lake City, and They do a terrific job with the community. So if you have a need, go to Meldon Law Facebook page or whatever.
MeldonLaw.com.
MeldonLaw.com.
There you go.
Check them out and find out what they got. They got good. They serve their community. I believe we got my man Scott Carter in the house, and let's welcome him. Hello, Scott. How you doing,
buddy? How are you? What's up, guys?
How you doing, man? Sorry about your loss of Martin. I know he was a very close friend of yours, and you wrote some beautiful things about him. Lots and lots of people did, including Pat Forty.
Yeah,
he touched a lot of lives, and Shane didn't know him. So we're going to do our best to explain to Shane who he was. And I think the best way to do it is telling them stories. You wrote a beautiful one today, and I reposted it about who Martin was to you. And I'll tell a quick story about me. I didn't know him like you guys did. You guys all hung with him. So if you want to share one of those stories today that you told, the one I posted or otherwise about Martin Fennelly, who he was, I know he was really special to you.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Martin, buddy, and if you worked in Tampa Bay media for the last 25, 30 years, I mean, Martin was, a voice down there that was so unique. I mean, his writing ability was, there was nobody equal. And he also just had this human side to him. It didn't matter if, he just got through interviewing, Tony Dungy or Warren Sapp or whatever. He treated you the same, whether or not you were a new guy on the newspaper or his next door neighbor. He was just that kind of guy. Above all else, he was just a master storyteller who really cared about what he did. And I saw Martin work so many times in the press box on deadline. And he was a guy that nothing was. I mean, every word to him mattered so much in what he was writing in the next day's newspaper. And he was just, if you met him, you just never forgot him. And obviously, the last time I saw Martin, buddy, you saw him too, because I remember getting him on that golf cart that you were on going up to the Tennessee game. And he came up that day to the game. And just as a fan, him and another friend of mine, and we hung out with him before the game, me and Chris Harry and David Whitley, some old friends, and we had a good time. But he wasn't feeling that great that day. But Martin, just every time you saw him, man, it didn't matter if you'd seen him, 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago, you just connected right away. And I mean, I'm just the stories though. I could tell you guys some stories. He's the funniest guy I've ever met, by far. And I remember when the steroid scandal was going on in baseball, one year in spring training when I was covering the Delaware-Rays, Martin went out. He wrote a column, but to write his column, he went to an actual Quest laboratory and got steroid tested, and then he ran the actual results in the newspaper, and he wrote it in such a funny way that only he could have done it. But when you read it, you just laughed. You just laughed out loud. That was just the kind of guy he is. And there's tons of stories from everybody at the Tribune. We became close over the years, but guys like Joy Johnson and him, they're kind of kindred spirits. Chris Harry obviously has a ton of stories, but just probably one of the 2 or 3 most unique people I've met in my life.
And David Whitley, of course, too. You guys are all hanging together. Shane, just bear with us on this 1 second. Scott, you tweeted a bunch of stuff today. And one of the things that struck me about one of your last memories, he was struggling with the heat, ready to find shade. But before we parted, he put his arm around me and said, "I'm proud of you, Scotty." One of the few people who's ever called me Scotty. He always had that big brother approach. Going to miss you, Martin. You moved people. By the way, I have called you Scotty, just so you remember. I've called you Scotty before.
That's right.
And I'll give a quick memory, and then we'll talk about journalists in a different light as people. I know Shane doesn't know. He knows a few. He has friends who are journalists.
I don't like any of the journalists.
They don't like you either, pal. I really remember one particular thing. Martin was after my time. He had my old job as sports columnist for the St. Pete Times. And he'd been at it for a while and did it beautifully. And I was going to a Rays game. My daughter was taking me with my grandson on my birthday. I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. maybe more. And I've been out of the business for a while. Some people know I'm a washed up old guy, and some people don't. Anyway, so we're walking up up to the luxury box, where my daughter paid $200 a ticket to sit and watch the game. And Martin was running up the stairs to get to the press box in a big hurry. You know, we've all been there. And I know he was going to get his seat in the first pitch and all that. He saw us quite a ways away. He waved and came all the way over and said hi. And not only that, looked at my grandson and said, "Your grandfather was one of the best ever to write." Now, that was special, you know, for him to be able to hear that from somebody else. What a moment. It meant so much to me. And that's typical Martin Fennelly. That's what he would do. He'd make you feel special.
Yeah, I mean, I think those people who read him regularly, I think he had that human connection that unfortunately is kind of lost in our business today. You know, back when he was in his prime, you know, you got to know the athletes and coaches on a more personal level. And he really connected with so many of those people. But Martin was also never he was really truly an egoless guy. He would, you know, cover a Bucks game or a World Series game, and the next 2 nights later, he might be out at the high school soccer match because there's an unbelievable story out there. So he never put himself above really any story that gained his attention. And I think that's something else that, you know, he wasn't one of these guys who shouted from the rooftop. He wasn't an X and O guy who, you know, challenged every coaching call or interception or whatever. He really tried to connect on the human level, the good and the bad. And that's, I think that's the kind of writer that I think connect with readers the most. Again, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a lost art where journalism is now, and it's all clickbait on the internet. But we're losing those kind of voices, and it's really sad. But Martin really appreciated the craft, the history, the people who came before him. But while I was so close to him, he had me by about 15 years, but at a critical stage in my career, you know, he kind of took me under his wing and really helped me. And, you know, that's what that little story on Twitter today was when he saw me for the last time. I mean, that was a little bit connected back to that. And, you know, it's been a rough 24 hours, but I know we're going to all get together.
Yeah.
We're all, we're all going to be laughing a lot the way he would want us to, because there's no way Martin would want us to all be together, you know, crying over him. He'd want us to laugh.
This last thing on your tweet, and then we'll switch over to Gator football. Maybe Shane can get involved in this. I know he's looking like a guy thinking, who are they talking about? But it'd be like one of your teammates, Shane, or somebody you play with passing, you know, for these guys. I didn't know him as well. Peter Karasolis, you remember him. Peter was down in Cocoa and one of my other jobs. And he wrote this about him today. He's talking about Martin. He says he enjoyed seeing people do well. I remember having an in with Bob Hayes' daughter, and she was going to take me to her father's grave during the Super Bowl in Jacksonville. I brought Martin with me instead of having the story all to myself. Why? Because it was Martin.
Yeah. That was one of Martin's columns I remember most. I mean, that was when the Eagles and who played in that Super Bowl? I can't remember. But the Eagles and somebody, and they played over in Jacksonville, and he went out there with Peter and wrote this unbelievable column on Bullet Bob Hayes. You know, at the time, he was an icon in his days, the fastest player in NFL, an Olympian. And it just brought back a lot of memories for someone who a lot of people had forgotten about. And Martin was great at that, you know.
The forgotten people who would love me, love Shane, forgotten people. Shane, you had some special relationships with some writers.
Yeah, I mean, you know, back in my playing days, obviously, you know, Chris was here, Chris Harry, Bianchi, Frank Frangie, all those guys. You know, you saw them on a daily basis back in those days.
Pat Dooley.
Yeah, Robbie and the local guys, Robbie and Pat for sure. You know, and now, you know, Scott's part of that, and, you know, I get to see Chris, you know, being part of FloridaGators.com, so it's kind of cool. And, you know, Frangie's still around, but Bianchi's got his show going, and, you know, Pat and Robbie are retired now, but they're still around.
Radio. So, yeah. You got to do radio now. There are you. Well, it's a different breed today. I don't mean to knock the young people today because some of them are very good, and they're good people, but it was
Well, it's definitely different. You know, I'll never forget. I mean, I don't know how many. I can't remember. Was it Coach and Jerry's one of their 50th wedding anniversary?
That was the 50th birthday, and I was there.
It was something we had down in Daytona. I can't remember what function it was.
Too. We also had a 50th birthday in Gainesville and the anniversary.
Yeah, and it may have been. It was also maybe a football. Oh, it was the Spurrier era reunion. I think was down in Orlando.
Okay.
And freaking Bianchi, Chris Harry, and I think like Dooley, and there was like 4 sports writers that were there.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you their relationship they have with Coach. A lot of people wouldn't, a lot of coaches nowadays wouldn't be inviting sports writers.
Exactly right. It's a different deal, different era, and too bad. Yeah. So since we're all here gathered at this meeting and we have these illustrious minds going, what do we make of, and Scott, you have a little more insight than we do, of the so-called changes we've seen the last couple of days? The assistant coach, Joe Houston, is that his name? From the New England Patriots, who's going to be, we thought he'd be the special teams coach, but he's an analyst working with Chris Combs, is it? So he'll be doing that. And then we've seen a little movement in that regard. Shane, what was your initial reaction to it? And do you think there'll be more, Shane? You don't expect an offensive coordinator to be named, or do you, Shane?
I don't. I don't know if there's going to be any other changes, but I don't think there'll be offensive coordinator. If somebody's named offensive coordinator, I think Billy's still going to call the plays. That's just my gut feeling. You got an analyst, help Chris Couch out, help again, I try to tell people this. The special teams coordinator, everybody is involved. Every assistant coach is involved in special teams, so it's a collective effort, and we obviously need to do better in that area next year.
Yeah, I think we all saw that they need to do better. And I like this guy from a standpoint. I think they just need a stronger voice with that group. And this guy's background obviously speaks to that more than the setup they had with Chris Couch. He's a young guy, really hasn't been on this level before. I like some of these off-season changes. I think they're shoring up some things that needed to be addressed. And I'm kind of with Shane. I mean, I'll be very surprised if we see an offensive coordinator moving in anytime soon. I think, with where the program is and with everything that Billy has said, if you're going to read the tea leaves, I mean, he's going to do it his way. It's either going to work or it's not. I think part of that still is for him to be calling plays. So unless something drastically changes or has changed very recently, I still expect him to be the offensive coordinator.
I have a hard time every time we say Chris Couch is a special teams coordinator, because the Chris Couch I know was an All-American golfer here at the University of Florida.
That's right. That's right. Well, I don't know if this one plays golf.
No, probably not.
Here's an interesting take. The Eagles fired Brian Johnson, who to me was a very interesting coach. I like what he did. And I noted early on what he was doing. I wondered, is this normal? And I found out, and it wasn't. And Shane, you probably knew this, but he took all 3 top quarterbacks and gave them equal reps with the number ones. I never heard of that before. But when the time came for Kyle Trask to step up, he was ready because he had taken the snaps with number ones. He seemed to be a really good balance for Dan Mullen. The offense was clicking his last year here. They went to the Eagles. Now he's gone. I know it probably won't happen, but I'd love to see a guy like that come back here. But he may stay with the NFL because it's a lot better life and it's easier and no recruiting. What are your all's opinions of Brian Johnson? And would he be someone that Florida should look at? I'll start with you, Scott.
Well, I mean, I love Brian Johnson. I thought he was a very good coach. I loved talking to him. You could tell he was very smart, knew ball, connected with the players because of, he played at a high level. At Utah, went out with a big win over Alabama in the Sugar Bowl one year, and he built, his coaching under Dan Mullen. But he would be a great hire if you could get him. But I think we're going to see fewer and fewer guys come back to college after they get a taste of NFL. I mean, I'll be honest, man. If I was a coach right now and I got a job in NFL, I would never come back to college as long as it's still like it is right now. I'm just going to coach ball, make my money in the NFL, and just worry about coaching plays. And if you get fired, guess what? Get another job.
Yep.
I mean,
Shane, what do you think of that?
I like Brian. My son loved him. He played for him here.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But I will say this. I don't think Brian's an offensive coordinator right now, especially at the NFL level, because watching them, they were the least amount. They had the least amount of movement of any other team in the NFL, and you have to motion and move people. And they had, I remember I guess it was a playoff game. Yeah, the Eagles played the Bucs in a playoff game. The Bucs blitzed them, and they had no answer for them. There was no hot routes or anything. So anyway, I think he's a tremendous quarterback coach. I don't know about offensive coordinator, though.
Good point. I think you're right. I like the way he approached the practice, though. But
like Sky said, there's no way in hell if I'm Brian Johnson, I go back to college football.
Yeah. Yeah, Shane, you wouldn't do it, would you? If you ever coach pro ball, but
I had opportunities to coach at some lower level colleges this year, and I told them no, thank you.
Yeah, you don't think you ever will?
Nope.
He's got too much golf to play, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
he's the king.
They'd have to give me so much money, buddy. They'd be like comical. It'd be like they gave this guy this kind of money to go coach. Yeah, it's not worth it. I love college. I used to love college football. I still do. Not like I used to, but I'm with Scott. When a guy goes to the NFL, all he has to do is coach football. He does not have to worry about is that guy talking to somebody else and going to leave at the end of the year? No, they got a contract. The coaches don't even worry about any of that stuff. All they do is coach ball.
Yeah. I am glad, guys, you guys have probably seen this too. It feels like there's finally some urgency about this whole thing. I mean, ever since that Orange Bowl with Florida State and Georgia, then Kirby Smart saying what he said afterward, you're seeing a lot more meetings and a lot of people talking about this has to get fixed, man. I mean, it's 3 years in the NIL, and they're no closer to having a plan than they were back in 2021. So it feels like some things are moving in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to get done.
Yeah, it really does feel like that. Well, all right. So Shane, I'll talk to you again tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about the Super Bowl, what have you. So often it's like the best games are the league championships, though, you know. Super Bowl never quite reaches that level most of the time. And we'll see how it works out. But, Scott, I'll leave you with this thought. Shane and I were saying that the NFL may have a better game now. And you all the way around. It's just we're college football nuts, and Franz joins the show. And we all love college football, but they got to change some things, or the NFL, the numbers they're putting up, 56.6 million yesterday, and the way the game is, and you got a change in styles. You got a Michigan team that looks like the old days of the NFL, who are just a bunch of smash mouth players, although the quarterback's a good player. You got a different style team in there, and now you got these magical tightrope walkers playing quarterback and running these fast, making incredible acrobatic plays in the NFL, which is what it seems like college used to be. I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Is it changing?
Well, I mean, I do think, the NFL has always been a superior game just because of the players. I mean, that's the best in the world. But I do think what you're saying, it's become a more exciting game in the last decade because of some of the athletic quarterback play, some of the rule changes that obviously favor offense more. And I think what's hurting college football now, guys, is a lot of what, we've talked about. It's just, what makes college football so special in the first place is you get to identify with these kids who come to your school. They want to be there. You don't have that anymore. I mean, the Gators in the last 15 months, if you want to go back the last 2 seasons, have had more than 50 scholarship players enter the transfer portal. How do you get to know these guys? I mean, you don't. So when that happens, it's only natural that interest is going to, kind of take a hit, or at least passion. So I think that's why you're starting to see some real urgency with the leaders of this industry getting, and even if Washington has to get involved, they're at least talking, realizing, hey, we're kind of broken right now. How can we get this thing fixed? Because the NFL, I mean, it's hard. You're never going to catch up with it, but you don't want to be losing ground like you are right now. So,
all right, let's get Shane's thought, and we'll go with Fran. I know you got to go, Scott, and probably also Shane. He's got to get up early morning to do a show with me. So let's get Shane's thoughts about the game changing again, repeating it, and then we'll get Francis' thought, and we'll say goodnight to a couple of you guys.
Well, I agree with Scott. I mean, the NFL is the best players in the world. You know, I always loved college football because of the passion and the loyalty. Well, they ain't around anymore. So that's kind of where I've kind of switched my thoughts on more NFL. I thought the games this weekend were outstanding. I think you're going to have a hell of a Super Bowl. In my opinion, as I said before the show, I think Pat Mahomes is going to go to more Super Bowls than anybody we've ever seen when it's all said and done. And he's playing against a kid that nobody thought could be a quarterback in the National Football League and may win the MVP. And he's got a chance to win the Super Bowl, making about $800,000. So it should be a lot of fun. You got probably the two best play callers in all of football, in Shanahan and Andy Reid. It should be a good one.
Sure. All right, go ahead, Franz. Get your 2 cents per dinner. Good evening to you, Franz.
Hey, good evening, guys. I agree with what Rick Neuheisel says. Put the coaches in charge of handling the issues with the portal. Let the coaches be in charge of handling NIL, and this will get solved in 30 days. I agree with that. I think the coaches know what's going on. The problem is we have college presidents, and I said this last week, and I really mean it. For the longest time, we've been sold this bill of goods that they are the best and the brightest among us. What we found out is they've just gone to school longer than the rest of us. That's all. They have no clue about sports, none whatsoever. I look at Florida. Florida has not had a good president. I'm hoping Ben Sass changes that. But we have not had a decent president who had a clue about sports since Lombardi. Lombardi knew sports, appreciated sports. Chucky Young, what a disaster. My gosh. Bernie Matchin. I do give Bernie credit for one thing. He did bring Urban here, and we won a couple national championships. But he was clueless. The last guy,
Reinhard Spurrier.
The last guy, my gosh. I mean, I operate him right there with Chucky Young as bad as it gets. I'm hoping Ben Sass is different, but my point being this: you got to put people who really know what's going on in charge. You would not, for example, you wouldn't have Shane and me as the pilot and co-pilot of a 747 and just give us an owner's manual and say fly it.
That'd be a disaster.
What we do. Well, it might
I'm not
be.
hopping on that plane.
It might be, Shane, but we might get off the ground. You never know. But the point being is that we we put sports in charge of the college presidents, which is what the NCAA is, and they are clueless. The presidents have no idea. Their idea is, well, gee, we all have to have the same advantages. Well, that's not how life works. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 7'4". If you're going to make, if the college presidents had their way, because they eliminated the dunk because of him for 15 years. If the college presidents had their way, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
All right, that's good, Franz. Stop it right there. We'll let these guys go to bed. You and I are going to continue on this conversation. I want to talk to you about your column today, some things that you said. And we'll talk about that. And how about DJ Lagway being named the number one quarterback in the country, according to On3, number one. Stand by. Scott, thank you so much. Shane, thank you. Talk to you in the mornings. Thank you. And meanwhile, we'll go to break and talk about Meldon Law.
See you, fellas.
See ya. Jeffrey, you do a show where you ask a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You don't get shuffled off to somebody else. You get to see a Meldon, and that's good to know, because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, like me. And maybe you can coach us through. So Meldon Law, they won't back down. They will take your questions about your case if you have a question.
Yes, whether it's a new case or an existing case, give us a call. We'd be glad to go over it with you. There's no charge to review your case with you. And a lot of times it makes good sense just to get a second opinion.
Good stuff from Meldon Law. They don't back down, but they will give you a second opinion. All right, back to my buddy Franz Beard. And Franz, we had some changes over the weekend. We talked about with Scott and Shane. And it looked like there was going to be a big change in special teams. We'll see about that. Turns out the guy they hired is just an analyst, in Joe Houston. There are some things being changed. What's your take on that, and what do you think about what Billy's doing?
Well, here's one of the things I want to point out to a lot of people. Have you looked at the record Dan Campbell had his first 2 years at Detroit? He won one game his first year. I think he won 3 his second year. And now in year 4, he's in the Super Bowl. Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, 2 consecutive losing seasons. And now all of a sudden everybody's talking about what a brilliant coach he is. It is a personnel game. You get the right people, whether we're talking the NFL or college. You got to get the right people. You got to get people who can play the game the way you want it played. But part of the personnel game is you got to have the right coaches with the right schemes. There was nothing wrong with Dan Mullen and Florida offense. The problem was, getting stops, as evidenced in 2020 when they give up 52 to Alabama. They scored 46 points on Alabama, scored enough to certainly win the ball game, and that was giving away points. In spite of giving away points, you look at the last 2 years with Billy Napier. They've scored enough points to be 19-6, really. Last year, for example, with special teams, as I pointed out, could have won the Utah game with good special teams. Could have won the Arkansas game with good special teams. Could have won the Florida State game with good special teams. But we lose those games. At some point in time, you got to have the right combination of personnel and coaches to do it. And sometimes that doesn't happen immediately, which has been the case with Florida. Now, the Gators could be a vastly superior team in 2024 than they were in 2023 or the previous year, and yet not have a significantly better record because the schedule is absolutely brutal. You look at how the Gators are going to end that season. My gosh, you talk about a gauntlet, those last 4 ball games. Mm-hmm. When you've got Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida State, mm-hmm. Holy cow! That's just unbelievable. But they could be better. I was looking at the schedule today, and buddy, I'm not making predictions, but they could be 6-1 going into the Georgia game. They could be 1-6 going into the Georgia game.
That conversation with Shane about a month ago. This
Yeah.
team could be 6-1 and then lose their last 6 games easily.
But you don't know. You get momentum. It's like Missouri. Everybody was talking about this past year with Missouri. They just got momentum going early on. And all of a sudden, teams get on a roll. And all of a sudden, they start believing in themselves. And a team that believes in itself is a dangerous thing, as you well know.
1960 Gators and 1969 Gators are 2 good examples of that.
Oh,
both those teams got run in and they liked it, and they were in the rarefied air, and magical things happened.
1990 Gators. Mm-hmm. Steve Spurrier comes in here and he puts in a guy named Shane Matthews who had 2 snaps in his collegiate career.
And his biggest advocate was John Reeves on the practice squad. He spoke up for him.
But here's the thing. We went into that first game with Oklahoma State, and everybody thought Okie State is going to win. Pat Jones had some really good teams coming in there, and those guys got hit like they'd never been hit. I mean, first, 5 plays down the field, boom, 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 like that, and Florida's ahead. They get a 3 and out. They get the ball. It's the same thing over and over again. And that's a team that nobody really thought was going to do it. Jack Hairston and you, I think, are the only 2 people who were writing for daily newspapers who gave the Gators a chance in 1990. And y'all did it basically because you had this undying belief in Steve Spurrier. I mean, but the personnel was pretty good. Steve will be the first to tell you he inherited some pretty good personnel.
Not about it. Of course, you go to Alabama next, and what happens there?
Yeah, exactly. They win a defensive game. Everybody is saying, well, Spurrier, certainly, he beat Okie State. But now he's going up to Alabama where they're going to have to play defense. Story. Yeah, they're going to have to play defense. Well, guess what they did? They played defense. Will White intercepts 3 passes. They block a punt for a touchdown. And they win that game by playing defense.
The guy from Angel's son, whose name escapes me, wrote something Spurrier never forgot. I can't remember his name now. He's no longer was only there for a couple of years. Spurrier said, he wrote, Alabama played like Florida and Florida played like Alabama.
Yeah, Bill King was the guy that wrote that.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
Yep. But so we got a question. We see Billy Napier making these changes. And he's making changes with the roster. I think we addressed this last week. He has addressed all 3 levels of the defense. I think Ben Troop is the one that really pointed that out. He's gotten Joey Slackman in to solidify that defensive line, and this guy's a stud. I mean, he could play for anybody in the country, and he chose Florida, which is amazing. He could have been drafted 2nd or 3rd round had he chosen to go to the NFL draft, but he came to Florida. All of a sudden, the defensive line looks better because of that. You get Grayson Howard coming in here. Yeah, you lose Scooby Williams, but guess what? You get a 6'4", 250-pound guy that moves and can stick people. And you know what their big problem has been in the middle of the line? Making tackles, sticking people and putting them on the ground. You get George Gums in from Northern Illinois, a guy that comes off the edge and is super, super quick.
Veteran safety.
You bring in 3 safeties. So you've got the Carroll kid from Tulane. Triquezy Bridges from Oregon, and then you bring in Asa Turner, who is an absolute ball hawk. And the more I talk to people about him, they say, this is a guy that is a grab people by the lapels and shake them silly if they're not getting the job done leader. What have we talked about in the press box these last 2 years?
Lack of leadership.
About defense, the lack of leadership. You got
Here's
new
what
coaches.
you wrote. Franz, you wrote this in your column today in GatorBait. By the way, if you folks have not subscribed, do so. And while you're at it, go down and smash subscribe on this show. But GatorBait's where you get the good stuff. You wrote, yes, seasons are changing, but apparently so is Billy Napier, whose 2024 Florida coaching staff continues to evolve. The defensive staff has been gutted with the replacement coaches on the D-line, Joe Chapman, formerly of Tulane, and secondary, Will Harris, formerly of Los Angeles Chargers. When inside linebackers coach Jay Bateman took a job with defensive coordinator at Texas A&M, Napier hired Auburn defensive coordinator Ron Roberts to come to UF as co-coordinator and inside linebackers. So there's a lot of that change right there. Let me stop you right there, do a quick commercial. When we come back, I want you to tell me, what does it mean? The news that On3 has now made DJ Lagway the number one quarterback prospect in America. That means the class's rating is going to go up. So another good blow for Billy's team right there. Let me tell you about our friends over at TitanMRI.com. It's worth the short drive, by the way, if you're in the area, to go up there. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card. Same day scheduling. You don't get that many places for your MRIs. So you should start feeling better today about that, because Titan MRI is North Central independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location, from Ocala, the villages, and surrounding areas. That's TitanMRI.com. DJ Lagway, the touted recruit, as he finished his number one ranked quarterback and number two overall player nationally in the final On3 rankings for 2024. Lagway moved up from number 16 overall. Ohio State receiver signing Jeremiah Smith of Hollywood. Can you imagine if they would have gotten him? Shamana Madonna landed the number one spot. What does this mean, friends?
Well, I look at it like this. The kid comes here and he's not going to have the immediate pressure of being a first-time starter. He's not going to have to go out there and from day one be a stud. He's got Graham Mertz, who by all accounts is a tremendous teacher to guys below him, a guy who takes the time, really explains it, and the ultimate film junkie. This, to me, sounds an awful lot like 2006 when we got that Tim guy. What's his name? Tebow or something like that?
Heard of him.
Yeah. And Tim Tebow will tell you to this day that he got mentored nicely by Chris Leak. Chris doesn't get enough credit for what he did at Florida. You're talking about a guy that I think in today's world probably transfers. 2 years, and he's been here 2 years with an offense tailored to him, and along comes Urban Meyer with this brand new scheme that asks for a quarterback to run the football. Holy cow, we got a non-runner in Chris Leak. Perfect. Nobody's ever thrown a prettier spiral than Chris Leak. You got to admit that. I mean, ball had no wobble. It just went to all the places it's supposed to go. But he was not a runner. So it took a while, and then they bring in Tebow, and all of a sudden now you've got your running quarterback that you can bring in there as a change of pace, and then you got Chris Leak to do the other stuff. And it worked well. They won a national championship doing that. We tend to forget that the synergy between those two was really good that year. Now, the question is going to be this. Can Billy Napier create that synergy, that positive synergy between Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway? Can he make it so that they want to come to work together every day? They want to help each other succeed. They're constantly pushing each other. Chris Leak did that to Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow did that with Chris Leak. Can that happen? Can you recreate that? Because if you can, Florida might end up being a lot better than people think they're going to be next year.
12 game playoff, friends. 12 team playoffs.
I think it's going to be 12 teams, buddy, for 2 years. And I think in 2026, when they get the new contract for the playoff, I have to believe it's going to expand to 16 teams.
Just like I told you would, friends.
You're going to have 8 conference champs and 8 at-large teams. That's what I believe you're going to have. I think for the time being, from everything I've talked about with a lot of people, for the time being, buddy, I think they're going to try to incorporate what we call the group of 5 into the whole scheme of things. That's why I think they're going to expand the playoff. Ultimately, they could do what you think is have a group of 5 national championship and have an upper division championship. That could happen, but I think from all things that I've been able to discern from conversations with people who are a lot smarter than I about this, I believe they're going to try to integrate this. I think we're going to have 8 conferences, 8 conference champs, 8 with automatic bids, and 8 at-large teams. And I think that's a great scheme. I think that's a terrific scheme. And it's going to be the death of the bowls. The bowls are going to become officially the NIT. And
they'll be playoff spots eventually. They'll do some playoff spots. They expand. They'll get theirs eventually.
But I think this is what's going to happen. College coaches, I believe, have the answers, and I believe they can make the answers. I don't trust non-football people to make football decisions. People say, well, you got athletic directors. Yeah, but athletic directors have to walk that fine line between their coach and the school president. Give the game to the coaches, and I think we come up with solutions that work.
Okay.
Keep the game in the hands of the presidents.
Yeah.
And I think college football is going to be unrecognizable in 5 years.
All right. Well, listen, I got one for you. I'm going to do a Renstar commercial read. I want you to talk about the basketball team. Huge win over Georgia. Mm-hmm. Mike White got a little revenge on Mike White, but boy, 2 big games this weekend after that last weekend. Let me tell you about Renstar, first of all. One of our favorite people. They've been a great sponsor. Friends of ours have a reputation and justified themselves as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. Renstar brings cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, and fibromyalgia, along with many other things that affect us in our community. Since our inception in 1998, Renstar has participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continues to partner with prominent pharmaceutical companies. So check them out online, renstar.net. You might want to take part in one of their clinics. Renstar Medical Research, seeking the more answers to the health questions of today. How about those Gator hoops? Where are they going, and will they ever break through, friends?
What a ball game Saturday. For 30 minutes, I think they showed just how good they can be. For 10 minutes, they showed just how bad they can be. And yet, in those last 5 minutes, they regained their poise. That, I thought, was vastly overlooked because we've seen over the years, buddy, you and I, we've seen too many times when a team loses their poise, they never get it back, and then there's a carryover from it. Losing can be really contagious. Had they lost that ball game, I hate to think what the mentality would have been this week with Kentucky and the Aggies on the road. And then you got a midweek off, and then you get Auburn the next Saturday. Talk about brutal schedules. This basketball team's got one. But to be able to reboot your poise in the huddle, and I like what Todd Golden said. He said, are you going to feel sorry for yourselves, or are you going to start playing like you played the first 30 minutes? Well, Zion Pullen, I think, set the stage right off the bat. He goes in there, fearlessly goes up against their 6'10", 7-foot guy who's probably weighs about 275, 280, draws the foul, hits the free throw. And from that point on, I really thought that Florida had regained its poise. They looked like they started looking like the team that had won the first 30 minutes so handily. Thank goodness at the end of regulation, that little point guard loses the ball and doesn't have a chance to get it to RJ Melendez, because he was in a shooter's coma, and I think anything he would have thrown up at the end of the ball game would have gone in. But again, God works in mysterious ways, and the ball he lost control of the ball for no reason whatsoever. It just got away from him. And did you see how close Will Richards' final three-pointer? He banked it, and he's hit as he did, and there's no call. I don't know if you really paid attention to the Zebras. They got in there. There were at least 3 different occasions when Kenny Cross, who's next to me, who's one of the better basketball people in the country, and I said, is it my imagination, or are these guys arguing with each other? And he said, there's no question about it. They are arguing with each other. You did not have a Zebra crew working in sync. Now, there were a lot of blown calls, and this goes to both sides. Mike White, I talked to Mike, and Mike I can't tell you what Mike said. But he wasn't happy. I know Todd wasn't happy. The officiating sucked on both sides. Officiating didn't cost anybody the ball game, but it wasn't good officiating. And yet, 2 teams got out there, and Florida got a chance to show what it can do for 30 minutes, and then showed that it can regain its poise. And Georgia showed tremendous resilience in being able to come from behind and play desperation basketball and almost come up with a win there. So I think it was a win-win day for both teams, but Florida got the win that counted. The Gators have now won 3 straight SEC games. I think that I will stick by my statement that I made last week. 9-9 will get you into the NCAA tournament. I have no doubt about it. If you're in the SEC and you win 9 games, you're going to do it because it's brutal. Auburn starts out 5-0 in the SEC, beats the hell out of everybody, goes on the road and loses twice. Everybody's going to have this problem. The road is not going to be kind. You're going to have to steal a game. Florida lost a home game. They've won a road game. They're going to need to steal another road game. They really are. If they're going to get to 9 wins, I believe they're going to have to steal another road win to do it. But if they can steal another road win, I think they can do 9-9.
That would be good. That would be good. Sure make a lot better opportunity to follow. Francis, as usual, great stuff. Great analysis, both in football and basketball. You can read Franz every day almost. His popular column, Thoughts of the Day, on GatorBaitMedia.com. He appears on shows all over the country all the time. He'll be on Rob Brown in the morning, our show at night. He's America's guest. Does a great job. He's our Franz Beard. Frank, buddy. You have a good night. We appreciate it. All right. You can go ahead and click us off, Brendan, if you want to click yourself off, friends. All right, folks, we'll say good night after that. Thank you very much for listening and watching tonight. Appreciate it. Good to be back from honeymoon, back on the job. Tomorrow night, we'll be talking to David Whitley and others. And we've also got Tony Barnhart on Wednesday. So we're back. We'll be doing stuff here on the Gators and SEC sports and stuff. And so I'll just say thank you for listening.
Well, good night, Dad. Holding it all together with a bunch of baling wire and chewing gum back here.
All right, son. Love you.
I had a tree fall on one of the cables in the back there.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Not a tree limb. No trees.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry about that. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
No, it's fine because I'm a genius. I just put it all together. No problem.
You are. You're Mr.
Headphones are broken. I can't put the headphones on.
You've always been able to do that. Oh,
See,
boy.
I got issues.
There's another set in. There's another set in there somewhere in the white.
Yeah, well, here we go. Yeah, we got it. See, I'm holding it all together with baling wire and chewing gum.
Shut it down. Good night, folks. Thanks for
listening. Good night, everybody. Good night. Thank you. See you tomorrow.